Today, in the video I'm preparing, I talk about the order to stop immigration to the United States. Be sure to watch it. The cancellation, as Trump announced, of programs and subsidies for all non-United States citizens. There is no more money for outsiders. There is no more money for outsiders. Frightening details of the CIA's secret plan to incite a civil war. Materials are collected and the video is being prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss the mass looting in America, part of the plan funded by Soros, and also about the country they want to embellish for us. 30 of Obama's aides are cooperating with the investigation. Don't miss it. All in the next episode. Did you expect the cancellation of aid and subsidies for all non-United States citizens? Did you expect a CIA-trained Afghan assassin to shoot 2 guards right on the streets of Washington near the White House? Did you expect the president to order a halt to immigration? We will talk about the astonishing facts uncovered by the Congressional Commission chaired by Jim Jordan. About the confirmation of Alex Jones's conspiracy theory. It's truly astonishing. And most importantly, about the plans to prepare for riots. And in fact, it really looks like a civil war. And all of this is just to return power to a bunch of murderers and filthy scoundrels who haven't yet had enough of our blood. So, let's start from the beginning. On Washington Street next to the White House, a former resident of Afghanistan who was released or let into the country shot 2 National Guardsmen, a man and a young woman. She has already passed away, and he also seems to be fighting for his life. And this tragedy has made an explosive impression on America. Rahmanullah lakanbal, lakanbal. Maybe she can't take it anymore, and she just can't anymore. She just can't, and she just can't anymore. And she can't anymore. And she can't anymore. And she just can't anymore. And she just can't anymore. And she can't anymore. Ration cards, of course. The children went to school, got free meals, and everything else that children of parents who worked hard all their lives to save up for this get. Here is the state of Washington where they lived. This is not the city of Washington, but the state of Washington. He added cash so the family could have fun, so the family could enjoy themselves, and that's exactly what they did. We don't know the reasons why. So Rahmanullah went to the capital, to the city of Washington, and shot 2 guards. We don't know yet. Well, did he act alone, or is he part of some group? We don't know. Where did he get the gun? Was it bought legally like usual, or was it loaded with a criminal bullet? But we know that he fired, and we know that one person is dead and another is dying. As a result,
the president posted a quote last night on X and Truth Social. I will permanently suspend migration from all third world countries until the United States system is fully restored, and I will stop all the millions of illegal entries allowed by Biden. He adds that he will end all federal benefits and subsidies for non-citizens.
I want you to understand what's starting to happen right now. First, entry has been stopped. Well, no, not for business, not for diplomatic visas, but for all others. From countries that the administration decides to call third world countries. They haven't told us which countries yet. It could be Belarus, Russia, or Turkmenistan, I don't know. And secondly, subsidies of any kind are taken away from everyone who, as President Trump said, is not a United States citizen. Well, once again, if not, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, because this is absolutely unprecedented. All assistance to non-United States citizens will either be stopped or reviewed And visas for everyone coming from countries that the administration declares as third world countries will be revoked. Stopped until this order is revoked. This is a first. Dima Torzak.
Stephanie, you and I both know the presidency is just one of the three branches of power. And there are many questions about whether Congress will agree to such a plan. It's not entirely clear what the president is calling for, whether this will eliminate federal benefits for all non-citizens. Here in the United States, there are many permanent residents who are entitled to certain government services. Also, people who are here legally are entitled to other services as well. There are still many questions about what the Trump administration makes it clear they will check people who have received visas to enter the United States. That is,
it's still unclear who will have their assistance cut off, who won't be allowed in, and most importantly, who will start being deported from the country. I think this will become clear very soon. The shooting at the guards turned out to be the straw that broke the camel's back. But there are things happening in the country that cannot happen in a law-governed state. But notice that they happen exclusively in cities that have been governed by Democrats for a long time. What do these cities have in common? A reduction in police patrols for a long time, regulation, restrictions on response calls, and the police as well. No punishment for minor offenses. For example, in California, thefts under $950 are not punished. He comes in, steals $949 worth of goods, puts it in his car, then goes to the same or another store and steals another $949 in goods. Why go work for $15 or $20 an hour when you can easily make $1,500 or $2,000 a day? And you can even take a break at a nice restaurant nearby. And even if you get caught, they'll just let you go on the condition that in 3 months, in 7 days, and 2 hours, you'll come back to court. And in the meantime, you won't steal or kill anyone. Before, you needed lawyers for that, free for the criminals, of course, paid for by the taxpayers, meaning you and me. And now, in democratic cities and states, you don't even need that anymore. Just scribble something instead of a signature and go on stealing, go ahead without worry. Everything that's happening now in November 2025 in New York and Los Angeles is astonishing.
This is a bold crime. 11 New York Police Department cars. The windows at this precinct have been smashed. And at this hour, that suspect is still at large, so...
While the first socialist mayor in New York's history prepares to take office, crime here is reaching new heights, and not just on the streets, but underground as well. And it seems that wherever you go, lawlessness lurks everywhere, including the Department of Motor Vehicles, where international fugitives get their driver's licenses. And while New York indulges and covers for criminals, it's also losing the few police officers it has left.
The New York Police Department is supposed to protect and
serve.
Thank you
to the officers for
their work.
But because of the tough hours, no contracts since August, and uncertainty with the new mayor, the police union says it's time for the city to protect them.
Yeah, broken windshields, rear windows, and mirrors, unbelievable.
That's pretty unfortunate. I mean, there's no reason to damage city property, so...
How many more New Yorkers will we protect, and how many will we have to? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
The president said yesterday that the mayor of New York wants to come and discuss street safety. He's open to dialogue. I'm ready to meet with anyone. President Trump is ready too, but let's get together and work together. We would much rather work with these sanctuary cities than continue to put our agents at tremendous risk. Did you see?
The mayor of New York City at a demonstration shoving a police officer and yelling in his face.
And what about Los Angeles? Surveillance cameras captured this wild moment when the owner of a jewelry store confronted a group of thieves. In Madera, near Frasna, masked men broke into the store, but they were met by the owner, ready to defend his business.
So, while California is going down the progressive path of destruction, law-abiding citizens are noticing it since their businesses, their homes, and their cars are under constant threat as criminals target them again and again. And this is despite the fact that just 2 months ago, the governor sent out special crime-fighting teams that were supposed to put an end to this madness. But how can you stop these bad guys when your so-called sanctuary state is harboring and actively protecting them?
Put your hands up.
Incredible and scary.
What's going on in Union City? Her quick reaction may have stopped what police called an attempted home invasion. The next day, 70 miles away, a chase that Modesto police say ended with the same suspect's arrest.
Even when the police arrest the criminals, they are taken to court, immediately released, and then go on to rob the next house or store. They are often caught twice a day. Well, at the latest, the next day.
And of course, the robbers never return anything they stole, unless they were caught right at the moment when they were carrying something out. Look at this madness. Look at this brazen robbery. Police report that more than 20 masked robbers broke into the jeweler's site by ramming the door with a car. As you can see, they did it in just 60 seconds.
The video shows someone breaking into this truck and stealing it in seconds. But the way they pulled it off has people in Anaheim Hills talking.
According to preliminary reports, they had been in the area for some time, scoping out the business. This was clearly planned.
We need more protection. This could happen to anyone, and I don't feel safe.
Now, other store owners are wondering who's next. It's understandable
that there is insurance, but then the insurance payouts skyrocket. But that's not even the main issue. Living in a state of insecurity is terrible and, in fact, unbearable. This is America in the 21st century, not Zulusia and not the middle of the feudal Middle Ages. But even, by the way, in the middle of the feudal Middle Ages, if they caught someone, sometimes they let them go. But they also cut off hands, heads, made people work off what was stolen or destroyed. And here we have humanism, or rather, idiocy.
And every single day, the lives of law-abiding citizens become more expensive because of crime, even if it doesn't happen right outside their windows. But wait, don't progressives tell us that most crimes are victimless? Take shoplifting, for example. These stores could get insurance that would cover their losses and they'd be fine again. That means there's no reason to put non-violent thieves in jail because when they steal, no one loses anything. True, false. Insurance doesn't cover all the store's losses, and after they've been emptied out, stores can lose their insurance. Or, to keep it, the rates will go so high that it becomes unaffordable. That means when customers come to stores in high-crime areas, they pay outrageously high prices. And the price of every item on the shelf includes the cost of theft that these stores suffer losses from. It's the same with insurance. Want to park your car in a high-crime area? You'll pay for that. This leads to the main reason decriminalization could mean the end of California. Law-abiding people can't subsidize crime forever. Their lives keep getting more expensive, and that makes people leave. And when enough law-abiding people leave, only criminals will be left. This isn't just a state that gives hardened criminals deliberately light sentences for behavior that would get someone in prison for a long time elsewhere. It's also a sanctuary that doesn't hand over international fugitives to the federal government and releases them. That means if you need a base to plan and commit crimes, California is very attractive to criminals. Police report that 2 more robberies occurred this morning in Studio City.
They found 26-year-old Juan Montes with burglary tools, a bicycle, and a backpack seen in the video from 20 other business robberies in the past month. That's crazy. 20 robberies. And he's free without any consequences. How do you survive when
criminals get away with this?
They allow this?
In addition to that, after breaking into more than 20 businesses, such a person becomes an experienced criminal, a hardened thug. And this person became like that, he is powerless to stop him.
Unfortunately, there are no consequences because prison doesn't scare him at all. When will he learn his lesson?
21st robbery, 22nd. It just doesn't make any sense. Careful, careful, careful. So, in this video, the criminal instigators break down the doors of this 7-Eleven, then a crowd of people rushes in and starts stealing goods. These are likely the ringleaders and newcomers getting their first experience in the criminal world. All of them feel the absence of the police and complete impunity for this terrible behavior. And that's how repeat offenders appear, robbers who won't stop. But what about the idea that insurance means these businesses have nothing to fear? Well, watch the next video and tell me, do these owners look worried? So why would a business owner board up their store if they're insured and not afraid of crime? Why would they do that? Because they're worried about it. Because insurance doesn't cover everything. Because if these places get looted, some of them won't come back, that's why. Progressives who sympathize with criminals and don't understand reality can't believe this is happening. They believe that criminals should be free to roam the streets because what they're doing is bloodless, nobody is suffering.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and Just the News founder, editor-in-chief, and chief investigative reporter John Solomon. John, let's start with the news. This report is just devastating. They're calling it invalid. It couldn't be any clearer. If people don't have time to read page 91, just read the summary.
That's how you get to the point. His closest circle, Joe Biden's circle, was hiding his mental decline from the country. He is so incapable of performing his job on a daily basis that the chief of staff, probably the most important person in the White House, that guy you see next to Donald Trump, every time he holds a press conference and signs a document, Will Scharf says Neera Tanden, Biden's aide, hasn't seen him in 6 to 8 weeks. She had no idea whether he approved the documents that passed through her hands. He was a rogue president in decline, and his inner circle was misleading the American people. That's what this report says. Jim Jordan is releasing major documents today in a new investigation. What do we know so far? We know that the memo the FBI used to launch Arctic Freeze, which then targeted 160 Republicans, 92 conservative groups, 8 senators, a member of the House of Representatives, the president, and the vice president, is actually flawed. Well, according to FBI rules, the memo that opened Arctic Freeze uses words like evidence suggesting there is no legal basis, and this is considered the crime of submitting alternative or fake electors, as they say, or fraudulent, as it's called here. This is a crime. The memo does not consider the fact that in 2 previous cases in United States history, similar fake, fraudulent, or alternative electors were presented. In 1876 in South Carolina and 1960 in Hawaii, no charges were filed. The FBI memo doesn't mention this. Today, there's major news from Jim Jordan and James Comer.
Nothing ever happens in a vacuum. When criminal activity starts at the top, it continues at the level of the marketplace. On the street, the level of street banditry in the lower layers of society. I'm often asked, what went wrong in the United States of America? The answer, unfortunately, is very simple. Everything. And most importantly, those who are supposed to protect and defend us are busy. Destroying their political competitors, completely disregarding us. And when the heads of state become bandits, or when bandits become heads of state, the whole country starts living by bandit laws.
Yes, as Sean and John said, the whole country knew that Joe Biden wasn't handling the job, and we saw it firsthand at those debates in the summer of 2024. I always recall when Joe Biden claimed an 8 handicap and President Trump replied, "Are you kidding? I saw you hit." So we knew he wouldn't be able to handle the job after those debates and then all those actions he took afterwards. That's the problem. As the report notes, like John, there was no process to evaluate them individually. Whether it's a pardon, a commutation, or any other action, an order, any actions taken by the president. And then with Jack Smith, we learned that it was much broader, much bigger than we ever thought. Remember, this is the same Jack Smith who imposed a gag order on President Trump and searched his house. This is the same Jack Smith whose 2 deputies took the 5th Amendment 71 and 73 times before our committee. What? He was spying on 8 United States senators, and now we find this out. And that's why we want Jack Smith to appear before our committee to testify after we receive the documents and ask him the same questions we asked his deputies who refused to answer. For example, a simple question. Did you carry out a political operation against President Trump? I am exercising my Fifth Amendment rights. How many other members of Congress did you spy on? I am exercising my Fifth Amendment rights. We want to ask Jack Smith these questions and get answers from the person in charge of the operation.
A regional hunt for political opponents is exactly what we were warned about. The founders of this country, what we call the Founding Fathers, this is exactly what they tried their best to prevent. It seems their efforts kept us going for about 2 centuries. That's quite a long time, but thanks to the efforts of politicians and bureaucrats, the system started to crack. And out of those cracks came, guess what, cockroaches.
We find out that the non-governmental organization, a non-profit organization connected to this rebellious behavior, traces back to none other than George Soros. It's not just these members of Congress who are calling for disobedience to President Trump as commander-in-chief.
Years before the pandemic and COVID emerged, I predicted the 6-foot distancing, masks, and the poisonous vaccine. I talked about how with COSM. Believe Trump is a dictator for sending the military into the streets, while Democrats plan to set the country on fire. The 2020 Summer of Love was a beta test in case Trump won and for their actions in 2021.
So they were preparing to rig the election in favor of Biden, but they were testing the country and Trump to see how much destruction, violence, and arson they could get away with. And then they slowly started to suggest to the military that disobeying orders was okay.
I mentioned this topic because it's part of the same plan. When Trump won re-election and was the president-elect in November of last year, during those 76 days when he was just the president-elect, they openly stated that we're now implementing this plan. 10 or 11 months later, they're trying to do it. When these senators, members of the House of Representatives, and CIA agents come out and say, don't follow his illegal orders, but he doesn't give illegal orders, they are planting the idea that everything Trump does with the military, when they try to create events leading to civil war and a coup, is illegal. So, Greg Gatfield did a great job today laying all this out on the 5. I want to discuss his thoughts, but it's important to remember the essence of his approach. I need to do that as well. Because even though I know all this, I still sometimes fall for it. But with the Democrats, they are completely discredited. And it's not just the list of what he's putting out. But Toomey is going to have a child. MS-13 are part of God's children. You know, did Russian prostitutes pee on President Trump? And so on and so on and so on. So they are known as liars. Look how easy it is for populists, conservatives, nationalists, Republicans to criticize Trump. He does bad things. His administration is going in the wrong direction. We go after him, but the Democrats are counting on us only going after the Republicans and forgetting that they are the most notorious liars and crooks of all time. It was
Alex Jones, whom the Democrats called the king of conspiracy theories. But so far, even his wildest Kazakh ideas are being confirmed. He is actually the most famous investigator in the world of all sorts of coups, conspiracies, plots, revolutions, and schemes. An uncountable number of people around the world listen to him. Maybe some of what he says is perceived as fantasy, science fiction, I don't know. But very often, more often than not, it turns out that even his fantasies pale in comparison to reality. To be continued.
The 6 rebels might have wanted a pardon themselves. The FBI wants to question 6 members of Congress who filmed a reckless video about troops disobeying illegal orders. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona faces a Pentagon investigation and a possible court-martial for his role in the video. And he still doesn't know what illegal orders Trump gave. Watch.
I said something quite simple and indisputable, that military personnel must obey the law. In response to this, Donald Trump said that I should be executed.
He lied twice in a single sentence. He didn't say it that way at all, and Trump didn't respond that way either. But lying is the only thing that Democratic politicians are really good at.
I should be hanged. I should be
judged. Were there any specific, possibly illegal orders that you were thinking about, which made you gather and do this? This
is actually the main question. You made the video in response to what? What illegal order did Trump give that made you stand as a wall to defend the homeland? Was there or not?
That's the thing, Rachel. You shouldn't wait until your child gets hit by a car before telling them to look both ways.
So the answer is no, right? Trump didn't say anything like that. I apologize for showing you something I've already shown before, just from a slightly different angle, but it's very important.
Among the American public and the military, there's a growing belief that Trump is losing his mind. You know what? We should have noticed the signs with Biden, but we didn't. We can fix everything by following President Trump's signs. And these people are being told that they don't have to obey Donald Trump just because they don't like him, but they know it's not that simple to say. So they need to make him look crazy, that he's losing his mind and that he's so angry he needs to be betrayed. Like, well, how? When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon? Everyone in the Senate, let's continue. Well,
Okay, Greg, which Looney Tunes do you want to start with?
Well, I'd like to paraphrase The Who and say, meet the new scam, same as the old one. This is a military video that managed to make something out of nothing. So you have this clean structure. First, you start with an insinuation that grows into a fabricated problem, backed up, and this is important, by classes of authorities. What did they do? By denying Hunter's laptop and the Russian collusion, you find so-called experts. Then it's amplified by receptive media. You saw this with the Russian collusion and the fake about good people. And then you get Trump's response, which gets spun into a fake narrative that he's authoritarian. Look at how he responded. But this will only work if you have no memory or no conscience. There is no trust among Democrats or the media. That's the main issue. Why is this happening? The Trump administration's power is energy, and the aim is to drain that energy to weaken the White House and us all. Their strategy is to wear us out. So when you see something like this, you realize that the only thing you can give to it is to absorb this story. Instead of absorbing it, you observe it. Basically, that's how you should treat all news. When news comes to you, you don't let it in. You just observe it. Let it swirl around you. Don't give it any energy, especially if it's not worth your energy. Let these two discredited entities, the media and the D-Democrats, sort it out among themselves. You shouldn't waste your attention or your energy on them. Given the fake good people story, the laptop cover-up, Russia collusion, and most importantly, the cover-up of Joe Biden's case. If you believe the Democrats, then you probably still think that OJ will find the real killer, but he's dead. And that's it, shut up. The indisputable thing the astronaut says is kind of a half-truth in that it's obvious you can't obey illegal orders. So that's indisputable. What's debatable is that they made a video, which means it had nothing to do with it. So they don't gather elite Democrats and make a video just to say something obvious or trivial. They do this to sow discord, chaos, and deceive Americans.
Why did they make this video? To create the impression that something is wrong in the administration, that Trump could issue any illegal order, do anything crazy.
Jesse, I think that for quite a long time now, these certain liberals and Democrats with a large audience have gotten used to making ridiculous and false slanderous statements, especially about the president. And no one ever asks for specifics.
someone just says, "Oh, really? What do you mean?" And they immediately deflate because they can't name anything the president has done that wasn't completely constitutional or within the law.
And you have to give credit to the mainstream media for asking the question. Usually they just believe, we won't let the Democrats ruin the military anymore. They've already done this with diversity, equity, and inclusion and transgender people, even holding drag queen story hours on military bases. That's it. We're done with that. Clear? They've already undermined morale enough, and we're tired of cleaning up after them. The mess in Ukraine, in Iran, at the border, we've got plenty of problems. And it's only been a year. This ends, and it ends now. So
let's sum it up. This is so important because many of us have been overwhelmed with so much information. The plan is to release a fake story, get the mainstream left-wing media to pick it up, add fuel to the fire, and get a reaction from Donald Trump to make him look crazy. Then they gaslight their voters. All of this is a psy-op on your mental health to drain your energy, so that you just give up and say, maybe Donald Trump is evil, maybe Donald Trump is bad. Don't fall for it. You're smarter than that. That's why you watch my show and other great shows, all right? Alexi Jones will highlight something important and Jesse Waters will summarize, so stay tuned.
How much the media landscape has changed. There used to be newspapers and radio, then television, 3 main sources of news, and then a controlled internet. And now there are hundreds of bloggers, often with audiences in the millions, and you can't hide the truth anymore. Well, you just can't keep it in.
I realized that I forgot the most important part. Jesse Waters, citing sources in the CIA, revealed that the CIA or parts of it are running this operation. I've already reported this, but now he knows it, and other major reporters are spreading this information as well. This shows one of the first cases in United States history where there is an internal war within the CIA, and good people are exposing this conspiracy.
The CIA has become such an octopus that the leadership can't even find out what the numerous departments, which are formally subordinate to the center, are actually doing. But it seems there are people who don't like this, and they go to the Senate, to Congress, or to journalists.
So I spoke with 2 CIA officers who claim that this is part of a major hoax. They are trying to get the country used to the idea of an impending disaster that will happen because of Donald Trump. And the threat isn't external, it's an internal threat, Donald Trump's threat. And then in the end, they offer a solution. What solution? You resist, you say no, but they leave you no choice. They say it's your duty. She's being used because it's not her idea. She's Brennan's accomplice. And congressmen and senators usually don't work together. They hate each other. To organize this, she must have had a handler who told her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this had ever been done in the country's history. And you can see this even by the fact that the media were skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. They weren't informed about the operation. No wonder they're confused and stumbling. And I'm glad that the United States Army is now investigating this, Kelly. After all, that's what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. The deep state cannot interfere with a legitimately elected presidency and get away with it. We must
draw a line in the sand, and we need to make an example by punishing people. When I saw that video last week where they released an announcement related to Soros's non-governmental organization, senators and members of the House of Representatives essentially trying to prepare
a military coup, a rebellion against Trump and the American electorate who voted for him. At that time, I said what is stated here. It's hidden, it's subtly veiled, but it's legal under the First Amendment. But the globalists and the plan podestas and the Democrats planning a civil war and the broader agenda calling to remove Trump from office. Their entire civil war plan was already shown in last year's movie, Civil War. And for the past few months, one battle after another with Leonardo DiCaprio literally promoting this plan. So what's illegal is that the sponsors and planners of this admit that it's part of a bigger plan to start a civil war and a real rebellious conspiracy. That's what the FBI, Senator Kelly, and others should be questioning about.
So far, there are no signs of division among the military. No army against the National Guard, no police against immigration officers, no Space Force against the Marines. There's no sign of it. When? I think they're already, thank God, too late. They
were testing their limits. Even the media were caught off guard, like, oh, hey, you should have warned us about this anti-Trump psychological war because we don't know how to deal with it right now. Anyway, I wanted to let you know that this is more serious than I thought. Even I thought, wait a minute, something here is really off. But when you start digging deeper, you realize they use military power, CIA power, the power of senators. And then they tried to provoke a reaction from Trump to make him look mentally ill, mentally challenged, crazy. And now we find out that George Soros and others are testing the waters to see where they'll get burned, and we can't allow them to do that.
You realize everything happening is just links in the same chain, not letting competitors get to power using any means necessary, including, as we already know, murder. If they couldn't stop him and he was already elected, then they try to shake up society, constantly organizing robberies, arson, protests, so that people would want to return to a peaceful life, to a safe harbor. To demoralize the army with, let's say, homosexual commanders, transgender lunatics, by canceling military and combat drills, and overloading the military with tolerance and diversity. And now, to push the idea that people shouldn't listen to the crazy Trump. But with each passing day, the Democrats are finding it harder and harder. It's getting harder and harder for them to fight because of their people, their ideology. It's being purged from institutions, from the military, even from universities and the media, and not just the American ones anymore. I told you about the BBC. Our task is to hold on to Congress and increase our majority there. The Democrats' task is exactly the opposite, to stop Trump as soon as possible, by any means necessary. Any means. I would like all of you, by the end of the summer of 25, 26, yes, the following year, to start helping your local branches of the Republican Party in their important work. You'll also meet like-minded people and make friends there. Go straight away, right now, as they say, to your local branch. Go in, introduce yourself, say that you live here and that you can and want to help. They will be very glad to have you. That's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Until we meet again, goodbye, goodbye, bye.